My first cup final was certainly not as a player. It was a spectator when I was, let me work this out, about 8 years old, and it was Leicester's fourth FA Cup final. They'd lost the previous three. And they were playing Manchester City in 1969, which, do the maths, gives my age away. And yeah, I came up with my granddad and my dad, and we came hopeful. We had a decent team at that stage. And arrived, I remember a little bit about the game. I remember the white shirt of Pete Shilton in goal, and I remember the only goal of the game, which sadly went to Manchester City. And it was a memorable day in many ways. It was very exciting. I remember the train journey and everything coming, all the hope. But ultimately, it was a really sad day. And you know, I went back with the family on the train, and I pretty much cried all the way home. And at that stage in my life, I never thought for a moment that one day I would come and play in an FA Cup final at Wembley. Actually, two, winning one and losing one. But it was, yeah, it was a really sort of sad day, but all part of being a football supporter. And Leicester have never been to the final since. So played 4, lost 4.
But the extraordinary thing is that, of course, you would go on to play with Peter Shilton. Yeah,
mad in many ways. Peter Shilton was my hero growing up. And he was an unbelievably great goalkeeper. And latterly, of course, I played against him, and then I played with him for England. And I roomed with him for years, and had shared 2 World Cups together. And then I retired, and he was still playing. He had quite a remarkable longevity to his career, and he was, you know, he was my hero as a child, and for me, he's personally the greatest goalkeeper ever. Well, the '86 FA Cup final was the first ever Merseyside derby to be played in a final at Wembley, and we were full of hope. We'd also battled out for the league title that season. At one stage, I was at Everton at that stage, and we were quite a few points clear, and then Liverpool won something like their last 12 games. They just won it at the last day of the season. So Liverpool went into the final already having the league title. We wanted to stop them winning the double. We were a terrific side, played well all season, and we came out. It was a really, really warm day, and it felt a bit tiring, but we played really well. We got ahead, and I scored that goal, which was an unbelievable feeling. I remember I just span Hansen, which I occasionally remind him of, but sadly always reminds me of the final result. But and I did him. And it was 1-on-1, and Grobbelaar made a save, and it bounced back, and I knocked it in, as Loro, funnily enough, came back as well. And we were ahead at half time, we were playing well, we were very dominant. We came out in the second half, we started very well again, we were comfortably on top. They started arguing amongst themselves. I remember Grobbelaar and Beglin, I think it was, just having a little scuffle on the pitch. And then all of a sudden, from nowhere, Rush scored, and then all of a sudden there was another goal, and suddenly we were 2-1 down, and then they got another one later on, and we'd lost. Now, it's bad enough losing a final anyway, but to lose your final against your sort of local enemies, as it were, was tough to bear. But not as tough to bear as the Monday after, when they'd already pre-organised this round the town tour with 2 buses, one with the Liverpool team and one with the Everton team. We had to go on a bus and tour the town, having lost both the league title and the FA Cup final. It was the most embarrassing, cringe-worthy, awful experience I can ever remember. Well, the '91 final against Forest, where I was playing at Tottenham at this particular stage, was one of my happiest memories. To win an FA Cup final was a dream. It always, you know, and having lost one before, and I was getting towards the end of my career now, I just, you know, it was just had to win this final. And the hard bit in many ways was we beat Arsenal, who were very strong at that stage, won the league already. In the semi-final, everyone remembers Gazza's free kick, of course. Not too many people remember that I got the other 2. And so we got to the final, and it was, you know, we had to beat Forest. We'd got financial implications at the club at the time. It was in a real mess. The FA Cup was vital that we'd go on to win it. And we played that day, and we played again. We played really well in the first half. We were very much on top, and we had a penalty, and I'd had a really good half actually, but I'd missed this penalty. It was a brilliant save from Crossley. It was perfectly struck penalty, I thought. But and then I had a perfectly good goal disallowed, which was really irritating because it was a nice little finish. I was quite chuffed with it, and I knew I wasn't offside. I just knew, generally you know. Sometimes you think maybe, but this one I knew 100% that I was onside. So that was annoying. And then we went in at half time. They had a free kick. Stuart Pearce. There was a little bit of that movement in the wall, and he knocked it in. And we suddenly won down at half time. We played really well. And in the second half, we came out. We carried on, and Paul Stewart got a goal. I mean, I'll tell you a true story. Des Walker was always Cloughie always put Des Walker on me, which was tough on me because he was so quick. I prefer playing against, big lumbering centre halves personally. But whereas Des was a great defender and read things, and he was super quick as well. So whenever we played Forest, when Des Walker's marking me, I used to go and stand near Stuart Pearce. It was a bit stupid, but at least took their two best defenders sort of concentrating on one player. So we used to have a little bit of joy in the middle. Now we played Forest about 3 weeks before the final, I think it was, and it was both teams were mid-table. There's nothing much at stake, and I came out on the pitch, and we started the game, and I thought, "Where's Des? He's put Steve Chettle on me." Now Steve Chettle was the big, lumbering, decent centre half, but no Des Walker in terms of his pace. And I thought, this is odd. Cloughie's having a look at this for the cup final. He's having a look to see if this can work, because obviously he didn't like it when I used to drag Des Walker out in the middle. So I thought, oh, right. And I swear it was the only game in my whole career where I never tried a leg. I let him get in front of me, I let him nick the ball off me, I had an absolute shocker. And we came cup final day, we're in the tunnel, which used to be at the end. And it used to be a big, long, grey thing. We used to be coming out. And Des looked over me, and he went, "It worked." And I thought, So I walked out, and we started the game. Steve Chettle was marking me. And to be honest, I ran him. I had a really good heart, and it didn't work because obviously the penalty didn't. I missed the penalty that I'd won, having spun him and went round the keeper, got brought down. Disallowed goal for different reasons, but I'd had a great first half, apart from the fact I missed a penalty. So anyway, half time comes, we're unbelievably 1 down. We come out for the second half, running out the tunnel. Des Walker runs up behind me, taps me on the shoulder, and he goes, "I'm back." So Cloughie had stuck him on me on set, so I had to drag him out the centre again. And funnily enough, in many ways, that's how Paul Stewart's goal came around, the equaliser. And so it was 1-1, extra time. And the only, and I mean this, the only sad thing for me about winning that FA Cup was it came through a Des Walker own goal, which, I love Des. He was a great guy. I played with him for England for years, and I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy. But it was still a memorable day, and magical to get that cup in your hand.